So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. While the rest of the world prepares for summer, we're getting ready for Halloween Horror Nights because it is officially haunt season on the DiscoLiz channel. It's the first video of Halloween Horror Nights 29. Let's get into it. So hi, I'm Liz. If this is the first video you're watching of mine, I am a huge Halloween Horror Nights fan. I've been attending Halloween Horror Nights Orlando since 2001. I've only missed 2 years during that time. I absolutely love it. And today I'm here to talk about the announced houses for 2019 and the speculated houses for 2019. So yes, I realize it is May, and for most people, Halloween is not on their minds. For those watching this video, I think we can all safely say that Halloween and Halloween Horror Nights is a year-round obsession, love, hobby. So thankfully Universal has jumped on board for that, and the announcements for Halloween Horror Nights houses are coming earlier and earlier, starting this year with Stranger Things. So I think this announcement was a shock to no one. I think we all saw this one coming. The surprising aspect of it is that it will be Stranger Things seasons 2 and 3. So this means that it's very unlikely there will be a Stranger Things house at Halloween Horror Nights 2020, which is Halloween Horror Nights 30, because there won't be content for it. Season 3 isn't even out yet. It comes out in July, which means we won't have another season by Halloween Horror Nights 30. It's no Stranger Things unless we repeat seasons we've already seen. So the surprising factor was that they were going to go ahead and do both seasons of content in one house. Now obviously we haven't seen season 3 yet. We're waiting in suspense for all that will bring. If you watch my channel, you know I am not an IP person. I prefer the originals time and time again. I will always choose an original over an IP. However, I really enjoyed this house last year. I only got to see it 3 times because the crowds were way too much for me for that particular house and most of the park. But it was a solid middle of the pack for me. And as a huge fan of the show, it made me emotional going through it because they did a fantastic job on the sets, and A+++ to whoever was casting that house, because the face characters really look like the face characters from the show. So excellent job to that team. As far as my anticipation for it for 2019, apprehensive. I have a feeling that once again, even with my Express Pass, I'll only get to see it a few times because I have a feeling it's going to draw massive crowds once again. Interested, but keeping my expectations low just because I have a feeling I won't get to see it much. The next house, however, is on my highly anticipated list, and that is Nightingales Blood Pit. So veterans of this channel know that 2011 was my absolute favorite year of Halloween Horror Nights of any year I've attended. Every single house that year was absolutely stellar, and the original Nightingales house was part of that lineup. So technically, based on the history of what they have released for this house, it should be considered a prequel, I suppose, because we are going to Roman times in this house. The original house had us set in the trenches of World War I. Careful that it was World War I. I have seen people saying World War II, but we were in the trenches of World War I. That was such a unique experience going through that house. They had some really amazing scenes and a lot of stuff above your head. So I'm curious to see what they will do with a Roman theme, and I expect a lot of gladiators, and I think they said something about a lion. And I'm really looking forward to maybe some Colosseum action. I have a feeling it will be underneath in the pits of the Colosseum. My other major question is what will the Nightingales be wearing? In the original house, they were World War I nurses, so the majority of them were in nurse outfits. So what will their disguise be in Roman times? Very curious to see what their costumes are going to be. The original house was one of the scariest of the year. I expect this will be no exception. The Nightingales as a concept are very spooky, creepy, gets under your skin kind of scare. And I expect the sets in this one to be stellar. So yay original, yay the much requested sequel prequel to Nightingales. I think Every single year there has been speculation that they were coming back because people wanted them back so badly. So thank you to A&D for listening to our wishes and bringing them back. I feel like the Nightingales are an original concept that can come back year after year because there's so many different wars that they can choose from. So excited to see if this will be the last house from them or if we get to see them again in the future. So the third house announced for Orlando so far this year is Universal's Classic Monsters. So like I said, I am a diehard Horror Nights fan. I've been going to this event for years. So that means I've also seen the classic monsters used multiple times in multiple different ways. That said, this is one of those cases where if you're going to choose an IP, the classic monsters are classic for a reason, and I'm always interested to see how they change up their story. Back in 2009, Wolfman, Frankenstein, and Dracula all had their own houses, and those three houses were fantastic. It was a very different take on it. I remember Frankenstein was more steampunk style, and the opening scene for Wolfman, they built an entire forest. It was awesome. And Dracula 2 had a giant castle. In 2012, we had House of Horrors, which was a black light house, also featuring the classic monsters. It became a sleeper hit for me. The first few times going through, I wasn't convinced, but once you go through it daytime and you're absolutely blind going through it, you realize just how scary that house truly could be. Also, I happen to have a personal attachment to it because my friend Michael was in that house. I don't remember if he was officially a swing, but he became a swing. So it was kind of like a, don't know where I'm going to find you on a particular night, but you're gonna surprise me and be in a different room every night. And had a lot of fun spotting him, especially when he got to be the Charging Frank, which was a fantastic scene. If you know the house, you know exactly what scene I'm talking about. One of my favorite scenes at Horror Nights ever, and that house became a surprise favorite for me for 2012. We also had a fantastic Classic Monsters Scare Zone in 2015. So they've proven time and time again that they can reinvent the wheel when it comes to classic monsters, and I'm very curious to see how they bring the monsters to life in this particular house. So as of filming this, which is on May 4th, 2019, those are the only houses that have been announced. However, there's a lot of speculation floating around, and in fact, there's even a speculation map that just went out this past week. So I think we should talk about the houses that are speculated for 2019 as well. So let's start with the IPs. I'm not really going to share too many thoughts on these, and then we'll discuss the original rumored ones a little more in depth. So for IPs, the rumored houses, and again, these are just rumors, take them with a grain of salt. We never know how accurate these things are until Universal actually announces them, and there are crazy rumors every year that turn out to be not anywhere true. Remember Lost Boys last year? Yeah, exactly. So first up, we have Killer Clowns. This one seems like an obvious shoo-in. They've got all the costumes. It was a scare zone last year. Everyone loved the scare zone. It seems like it would be a no-brainer to create a house for it this year. The only thoughts I'll share on that are, one, I think fans of the scare zone are going to be disappointed because they're not going to have nearly the same experience in a house, and it's going to be a different cast, so those interactions won't be the same. And two, I wonder if it will be as effective as a house. I think the sets will be really interesting for it, but I think the soundtrack and the interactions are what made it so popular, so not sure. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but apparently my neighbors are in the mood for Halloween Horror Nights too because they just started a chainsaw. Theme music, right? Setting the mood. The next rumored IP is House of a Thousand Corpses. I have not seen this movie. I have been told by friends that this is not my type of movie. However, if it does get announced as a Halloween Horror Nights house, I will watch it to do my HHN homework, but can't say I'm thrilled about this one just because I don't have any reaction to it. Never seen the movie, and I have a feeling not gonna be my thing. This IP, however, is definitely one I'm looking forward to if the rumor is true, and that is Ghostbusters. That's a big one. Wishful thinking has me wanting to believe this rumor. However, this has also been a rumored house for as long as I can remember. It's an 80s classic. Everyone loves it. It's had presence at Universal before. In fact, when I was a wee little one, I remember watching the Ghostbusters show at Universal. So it makes sense. and I think it would be a really fun house to go through. We know they have the technology to do Pepper's Ghosts, so you could totally get Slimer in there, could totally get some amazing projected ghosts. I think A&D has ghost house effects down, as we saw in Dead End years ago. I'd love to see some of those effects return. So I think they could do a lot with the Ghostbusters property. That said, I do have great fears of having both Stranger Things and Ghostbusters in one year. The crowds are already bad enough for Stranger Things. I can't imagine what they're gonna be like for Ghostbusters and Stranger Things in one year. So if that is a real rumor, I am excited for it. I will be a little sad that they didn't get it last year, because last year was an 80s themed event and it would have been amazing in that lineup, but hey, I'll be happy for it either way. So then that brings us to the original houses, the non-IP houses. And these are super vague, which is how rumors go for the originals. It's a lot easier to spoil an IP house than it is an original house. And I don't know how these rumors get around, but somehow they do. So these are the supposed original themes. That's all I have so far as themes. And those include a Tooth Fairy house, a Swamp Yeti house, submarine mutant house, and something to do with hide and seek in a graveyard. Like I said, they're vague. A&D has a knack for turning something everyday and ordinary into something terrifying, so I'm very curious to see what lore they create for the Tooth Fairy. And this could be a gruesome house, it could be a funny house, I'm not quite sure, but I'm definitely interested in it. For the Swamp Yeti, this house could be absolutely terrifying based on the Yetis that were in Slaughterhouse Cinema this past year. That Yeti scene got me every single time. They were humongous, their sound effects were terrifying, and there were many times we ran out of the end of that house. So a whole house full of those Yetis? Oh my. Submarine mutants? All I can think of that so far is kind of a mix between Titanic and Dead Man's Wharf, which was a scare zone, and maybe combining them. So you're in a submarine underwater and you've got creepy sea creature mutants, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, melded together. I don't know. Curious. I like an underwater theme. We'll see how it goes. The last one is the most ambiguous of them all, and that is just hide and seek in a graveyard. Something to do with children. Graveyards are creepy. Children can be very creepy. Adults playing children, also very creepy. I have no idea where to go with that. We've seen graveyard houses before. Winter's Night, one of the most beautiful houses they've ever done. We've seen creepy children houses with the orphanage. They're effective. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but between the traditionals and the schoolhouse and orphanage, we know that they can pull off creepy children, and we know they can pull off graveyards. Can't wait to see what the actual concept is for that one, if it's true. So that is the current state of speculation and announcements. I plan to do more and more of these videos as we lead up to Halloween Horror Nights to discuss any new announcements or any new information we get. Obviously, we've got a long way to go before we get to Scare Zone speculation and Scare Zone announcements. As I'm filming this, which is the first weekend of May, it's actually the reunion auditions for veteran scare actors. So hopefully all my spoopy friends out there are currently breaking legs and earning their spots back at Halloween Horror Nights. So very much looking forward to seeing how these speculations turn out, if they are right or completely wrong. I will be back to discuss them more as more information becomes available. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you aren't already subscribed, make sure to click the red button down below to get more Halloween Horror Nights news and footage come this fall. And happy early Halloween, everyone. See you next time. Bye.